So this video is some of my thoughts about the Kingkong Q100 brushed quadcopter. It's not really a review because lots of other people do reviews. It's really just excuse me, my thoughts and some of the things I came across which might be useful for people. It was my actually first brushed quadcopter that I've actually built. I've done some brushless before with ESCs and a bit more complicated, and this was remarkably easy to do. Inside you've got a flight control board, and then basically you solder on 4 motors. You've got a video transmitter and you add your own radio. You on the front left you have red and blue, on the back right you have red and blue, on the front right you have black and white, and on the back left you have black and white. I was using red as live and white as live. Pretty sure I've got that right because it didn't explode or fly backwards. And then you basically got to add a micro lossy adapter for power, and there's some pads on that you can actually solder onto there. One of the things you can do that I did initially was you can solder the micro lossy connectors directly onto the flight controller on 2 specific pads, and on top of that you can add the wires for the FPV transmitter. First thing first, you do need to cut them. They will be a bit long, they'll get all over the place if you don't cut them. That worked initially when I was using my little DSMX transmitter, receiver rather. Didn't really like that. I've always wanted to put my FlySky receiver on the bottom. Been having a lot of joy with those, but either before or something else happened, I was getting an awful lot of video noise when running my FPV transmitter directly off the battery connector. So instead what I went and did is, if you actually look in here, this connection down here is actually to do the receiver. So from the FlySky, that one over there is UART2 or UART3. It's not actually being used, and I can't think of anything you would actually use it for on a quadcopter this size. But some of the pins kick out 5 volts, which is what the video transmitter needs. So what I did is went along and bought some of these. I've got a few of these in my kit box. They are a micro JST 4-pin, and I believe they're 1mm on there. I took out some of the wires on there and basically grabbed the 2 wires which were providing 5 volt and ground. Now the colours aren't right. I'm pretty damn sure using these wires it's actually the white and the yellow. Just pay attention to what it says on the actual flight controller and just keep everything nice and tidy. Don't use the black and red on there because it's not the right ones on this set of wires. If you buy from another supplier you might get different colours on the wires. You can take the wires out, you can pull them out via the pins, which won't focus now, but it's more of a pain in the arse. You're much better just cutting the things off. I then soldered my video transmitter onto that, and I'm actually getting really nice video on the thing. I actually like the FPV transmitter in here. It's just a nice little strip. I've actually got another one kicking around now, but I'm not going to go and get it for the moment. It's got 16 channels on it. For most people that's going to do you. I think I looked it up and you've got some A, some B, some E, some race band on the thing, so you should be pretty decent for virtually any set of goggles. You'll have at least 2 bands that you'll be transmitting on that you should be able to receive on most equipment. So the other thing I was doing is I wanted to put my little AS8 receiver on the thing. I can't remember what the name of the thing is, and of course it's the label's around the wrong way. That comes in, you get a wiring connection for the flight controller, you get a wiring connection for the receiver. They don't actually marry up, so you're probably going to have to cut wires and solder them all together. Again, make sure you get your polarities right. One of the most important things I found was the receiver. This is a version 2 receiver. The original version 1 receivers, by default, if you used the S-bus wire, you didn't get S-bus, you got I-bus. and I like iBus. iBus seems to be pretty decent. It seems to be quite a nice tight protocol. You get lots of channels on it if your radio's set up nicely. So I thought, well, we'll use iBus, and I just couldn't get it to connect. I think it might be the Alien flight board. I'm not convinced it's iBus compatible. I've been on some RC forums, but I can't actually see anything. The problem with version 1 of the receiver was it would stay on iBus, and you could flip it over. You'd power on the quadcopter, you go on the receiver, you push the receiver down while it's actually powered. The little button on there, normally the bind button, but while it was just being powered, for about 5 seconds, and it would go into S-Bus. But the version 1 receivers wouldn't stick with that. They would turn back to iBus every time you change them over. The version 2 receivers will actually stick with what you choose. So once I put this on S-Bus, no problems at all, just works very nicely. Other bits and pieces, same old, zip tie around the back, with the antenna sticking out, nice bit of heat shrink around the back, sticks all the way out the back. Never have any problems with range on this for flight range. Coming out the top, we've got a zip tie again around the frame, popping straight up, a little bit of heat shrink with the video transmitter. I like the video transmitter. I'm getting pretty decent pictures out of it, getting quite nice clear reception. I'm using an Eachine EV800 set of goggles. It's one of the cheaper sets of goggles, but it's been worth the money. I had the first set of Quantum goggles, and they were big and they were chunky, and you had to have a separate receiver for the things. The EV800 have been a nice price point. I am looking at one of the other sets of Eachine goggles with the 2 antennas on. They've got what's known as fake diversity on them, but they've got a DVR. But I say the 800s have been very good. I will talk to you about an alternative about doing DVR recording, because there's quite a nice little way of doing that as well. So getting back to the quad, the video transmitter is very nice, getting a lot of joy out of that. Right, what next on there? Zip ties. Other bits and pieces. I bought a white one, quad with a white canopy. Colour's quite important on this thing. One of the things which is missing, and I'm not sure you're going to be able to add, I'm pretty sure there's no way to put it, is a buzzer. If this goes down, and it will go down eventually, you're looking for it. You're not flipping a switch to make it beep, beep, beep. And having full brushless quads in the past with vapors, you don't realise how much you rely on it. It just gives you a general idea where the thing is. So choose a bright colour. I think there's white, I think there's red, and I think there's yellow. There may even be black. I wouldn't buy a black one. This also goes for the props. The props you get, I think you get 5 complete sets, which is fantastic. And you're unlikely to break them, but they bounce. When you come down and you hit something, the props pop off and they go wee, and they spin away and they disappear. If you're out and about and it's in grass and it's not too long, you can have a look around, and if they're bright orange, you can find the things. At one stage I thought I'll buy some replacement props, and I thought, oh, there's black and there's orange, I'll buy some orange ones for the front and the black ones for the back, or vice versa. And I thought, no, I blooming well won't. If the black ones pop off, you'll never find them. So I'm going to stick with my nice orange props, and I'd probably say choose a body as well, which is nice and brightly coloured as well. Other little bits and pieces. When it's come down, the flight controller inside was held underneath by some clips. It seems to want to move about. I've actually got underneath that piece of red tape is my receiver wires all tidied up. I don't like to cut wires far too short, because I tend to think if I cut them too short then I'm in trouble. But they're all clumped underneath there, but there's some foam tape one side, and there's some foam tape actually underneath the flight controller as well to keep it all down. There's some tiny little pins at the front which just clip in and they'll stay down, but the back tended to float around, and there's not much clearance for these propellers over the top of the canopy. So that's why I've managed to squeeze that elastic band around the thing. All in all, I'd say this is a really nice little quad. I said I wasn't going to do a review, but I really do like it. It sits in this little food container box that I've got. I can take it out in a food container with my transmitter. It can go in my work bag, walk home. Oh, there's a park over there, and I can fly around the park for 5 minutes. It's fantastic. It came with that little battery, and it did focus enough, which was 550 milliamp hours. I don't think it's got a C rating on the thing. Yeah, seems to be all right. When I bought it, always buy a spare battery. If you like the blooming thing, there's nothing worse than going out and realising you can only fly for about 5 minutes and then having to go home. The battery that Banggood sold was a 600 milliamp hour battery. That's rated at 30C, I believe, if we can see the little tick mark on the thing. Yeah, who knows, but say seems to be nice little batteries. They all just charge off of USB charges. Again, that can go in my box, that can go into a power supply at work, and I can have a spare battery by the time I go home. I've also not yet flown on that, but I'm probably going to. That's a Nanotech, I think it is 750 milliamp hours, 35C rated. It's slightly heavier. One of the things you'll see that I've actually done a fix on there. For some reason, the Nanotech battery was wired differently. The red connector was on the different side than the black, and that means genuinely was the positive and negative were reversed. There's some talk that different manufacturers have different sort of procedures about which way around they have their positive and negatives on there. I found out when I plugged it in and all the motors span, possibly even backwards, so I whipped that out rather quick. I thought, what the hell's wrong with this? And found out that the wires were wired back to front. Again, cutting battery wires, be a bit careful, one at a time. Tape stuff up that you're not doing, solder it, heat shrink it off, mask it off, then do the other one on there. You don't want shorts on the thing. That'll actually fly. I have had it up in the air, but I haven't actually flown it out and about. It's flying on about 55% throttle to hover, and then zips off. So it's not going to win any races, but it's great fun. You can fly it pretty safely virtually anywhere. You'll just about fly it around in the house, although it hasn't got any prop guards on the thing. Just a really, really nice quad. If anybody's got any problems, post them below and I'll see if I've got an answer. I might have, I might not. Plastic frame, obviously, that's quite nice. Doesn't seem to interfere with the radio transmitter, which is only 25 milliwatt radio transmitter, but yeah, just very, very nice. That will stop before my receiver range, and I'm getting well over 100 meters out of it. Anyway, any questions, please let me know. Thank you for watching.